Hey friend, it's Carolina Moore, your favorite sewing and quilting YouTuber, and today we are working on the blocks for series 2 of the Quilt Trading Card. This is week 1. We're going to every Tuesday get together for 9 weeks, and I will have another video on all of these 9 blocks. And then they go together the same way that series 1 did, so the finishing video will be the same as the series 1 finishing video. Now these are the 9 designers that we have, and each designer has a different fabulous quilt block on the back of their card. Here I have already cut the fabrics for each of the 9 blocks, so all we're going to do is sew, press, and maybe do some cutting if we need to along the way for these cards. So let's get started. Alright, I have all the cards here, and I'm going to pick, this one. We're going to start with Staci Wendland. Staci of Staci W Quilts. She lives in Helena, Montana. She's a quilt pattern designer. Fun fact is she first stitched on a quilt when she was 3 years old. So she's a legacy, and her website is craftystaci.com. Another fun fact is that I have known Staci for over a decade. We started out as crafty bloggers together, and then we both worked our way into getting more involved in the quilting industry and doing less of like the general crafts and more specific quilting, and we kind of found each other in the quilting industry again, and she's super fun. So I'm so glad she's part of season 2 for Quilt Trading Cards. We grab her pre-cut pieces. All right, I've turned the iron on already so it can start heating up. We have our little pieces, and then we have our big pieces. And we need to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of it says the fabric B pieces, and for all of these cards, fabric B is always our background fabric, but I have a light colored chalk pencil here, so if I do it on the back of fabric A, that will be just fine, and it'll be more visible. So you can do it on the back of fabric A if that's easier for you, or you can do fabric B. You just need to do the diagonal line on the back of both of them. Now we're going to take these and pair them with the fabric B, so fabric A and fabric B together. And then we can sew these a quarter inch away from the line on either side to make our big half square triangle blocks that we need. Okay, I'm going to double check my bobbin, make sure that I have enough as I work on this project. And I'm lining up the edge of my 1/4 inch foot with that chalk line. And I like to chain piece, so I'm just going to go ahead and start that second one right after the first. This is a really short chain because there's only 2 units on this chain. If I wanted, I could go ahead and skip to the next step and actually start chain piecing the little rectangle and square units that I have, but we're going to stick to just this step. I'm just going to clip this one off the back, and then I can keep my chain going. Let's see. Turn it around. There we go. Now it lines up again. Alright, these are stitched. I can grab scissors to cut it. This is a pretty long piece to cut, so I'm just going to use rotary cutter and ruler. I have those handy and it'll be nice and quick. And then we're going to press all of these to the dark. Alright, now we're going to square these up to 5.5 inches. And any ruler that's at least 5.5 inches will work. This one goes all the way up to 9.5 inches, so it is more than big enough. Now I have a whole video on squaring up if you're new to squaring up quilt blocks, but I'm going to give you the quick basics here. You take your ruler, as I said, for squaring up 5.5 inch blocks, this needs to be at least 5.5 inches, but it can be bigger, and you find your 5.5 inch mark on your ruler. It can help to mark this. You could use glow line tape if you want. You can mark it on the top with like a dry erase marker to help you find that. I don't generally, but that's totally up to you. And then this is a half square triangle. So with half square triangles, the first thing that I do is I line up that diagonal with the diagonal on my ruler. And then I find if I can have a little bit sticking out on each side here, and then make sure that a little bit is sticking out past the 5.5, that's perfect. And then I trim 2 sides, spin it, and then again 2 sides, and you're done. You squared up your block to 5.5 inches. So we're going to go ahead and do that with all of our units here. Right now we need to make the little cross pieces for this churn dash variation block. So I've got 4, 4, 4, and 4, and I need to sew them all into a row. So because I like chain piecing, I'm going to sew these 2 together and these 2 together, and then I'll be able to sew these 2 halves together. The rule about pressing fabrics is that you need to press your fabrics before you do a seam that's going to cross that seam, or when you're at the end, when you're all done. You want to give everything a press when you're all done. So for this, all of these seams are parallel, so I don't need to do any pressing until I've done all 3 seams on each one of these 4. So it's 12 seams before I have to press. So just go ahead and stitch these all together. Alright, these all just need to be pressed in one direction. Just pick a direction and go with it. If you want, you can press towards the dark. So if one of your fabrics is super light, like I could press both of these in and then that one out. That would also be fine. And if you are an open presser, you can press these open. It's fine. So it's up to you how you want to press them. Just pick away and press. And this dark blue fabric that I have is a directional print. So I want to see, is it possible to put this one here so that it's right side up, and this one here and then it's right side up. And I think these ones are going to be sideways no matter what. I could have paid more attention at the beginning and maybe I would have made it so those weren't sideways, but that's okay. I don't mind. These 2 were really the ones that I care the most about them being right side up, and they're fine. That piece is right side up. That's a tail. It would have to be here to be right side up, so I'm not worried about it. And the rest aren't that identifiable. So I think this is the order, the placement that I'm going to have all these units. This is now a 9 patch, but an uneven 9 patch, but a 9 patch. So I need to sew my rows together. I do it by sewing these together and then these together and these together and then adding on the 3rd for each. And then after that I press them. We're going to press towards the triangles on these and then press towards the middle on that middle row, and then we can sew the rows together. So let's grab these and start our sewing. Alright, I have it into rows, so now I can sew the rows together. There's just one seam left, so there isn't any way to chain this. Just gonna grab this last piece, put it on. Alright, the block's all put together. We can press the seams in one direction, we can press the seams out, we can press the seams in. They're just 2 seams, so we really have a lot of options for how we want to handle them. I'm just going to go ahead and press them in one direction. Yay! We're all done with our first block. Let me see. Oh, there we go. Now it's right set up since I had those directional fabrics. We get to put this one in place. I'll be back next Tuesday and we'll work on another block in this series, and then every Tuesday till we're all done. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. And friends, I will see you right here real soon. Bye for now.